Hi there, Juliana Tapper here from Collaborate Ed, and I am so excited to share a little training with you that I actually did for one of my client schools, but felt like it was so applicable for so many people. If you feel like you've just been butting heads with your older students, your 7th through 12th grade students in math, and it's just there is not a good community, and you feel like you want to say, oh, that sounds like a great activity, but my kids would never, be on task enough to do that, you need a community culture reset. And so I wanted to just kind of address that in this video. We're going to talk about, do we need a classroom community reset? How do we do that? And we're going to break that down into 3 steps. So let's go ahead and jump in. So, like I said, this is all about a classroom reset for older math teachers. If you teach 6th through 12th grade students, so not necessarily for elementary teachers, but secondary, since that is my focus. And if you are not connected with me on Instagram, I'm over at collaborated.with.juliana. So I hope to see you over there. So first, you need to decide if you need to have a restorative classroom reset, like when you come back in January. So just reflect on the following. Do you feel like students aren't meeting behavioral expectations in your class? You don't want them to be on their phones. You don't want them to get up whenever they want to. You don't want them to talk while you are giving notes. If any of those things are happening, you probably need a restorative classroom reset. If you feel like students are disrespectful towards each other, if there is maybe even physical fighting in your class, if there is, just like you feel like you're butting heads with kids, it just feels disrespectful, you probably need a restorative classroom reset. Or if you feel like students are disrespectful towards you, if you are feeling disrespected every time they talk, when you're asking them not to talk, every time they're getting up when you ask them not to get up, and that feels disrespectful to you, you probably need a restorative classroom reset. And I'm saying this because all of these things have happened in my classroom every single year. There was not a year that I did not do a restorative classroom reset in January. I've always taught math intervention, and I've always needed a restorative reset. It doesn't matter how long you've been teaching. It doesn't matter how amazing of a teacher you are. Our students who are struggling with math and who have math anxiety, math trauma, math baggage, whatever you want to call it, they are struggling, and they're just kids. We are the adults, and we need to help them have this reset so that we don't drive ourselves crazy, and that we stick with it through the end of the year, and that we are able to help them achieve more than we ever thought possible. So other ways that you can decide if you need to have a restorative reset, you can do like a little feedback form like this. Maybe you do this like the first week back or right before you leave on break. 3 things that have helped me learn in this class. 1 thing the teacher could do to help me learn more, listen to the students' feedback. 1 thing I could do to help me learn more, let the students self-reflect on, is there any action they need to take to learn more in your class? They could also, sorry about that. You could also give like a classroom culture inventory. You could ask them any questions that you're interested to know about the culture of your class. You might think you have a great classroom culture, but it doesn't really matter what we think as the teachers. It matters what the students feel in our classroom. So 1 question you could ask is, how do we do math in this class? Are the answers what you expected? What are the expectations of behavior? Are those answers what you expected? What do we do that is fun? Is that what you expected? What makes our class different from the other math classes at this school? Is that what you expected? These are just some ideas. Obviously, take what you want, leave what you don't, and that's totally fine. But just some ideas to really hear from your kids about how they are internalizing your classroom. And if that doesn't meet what your hopes are for your classroom, then we need to do a restorative classroom reset. So just reflect on, would you use the how are we doing prompts or the culture inventory questions? Would you use those? Yes, no, what would you change? Just take a minute to pause and reflect on that. So if we do need to have a restorative classroom reset, here are 3 easy steps that we can do to make it happen. We need to facilitate a discussion, we need to make a plan, and we need to take action. So I love the resources over at theconflictcenter.org. They have the 5 R's of restorative justice. And you'll notice that I've been calling this a restorative reset. And that really comes from a desire to come from a standpoint of restorative justice more than just punitive, and to really restore the community and the culture within our classroom. The first R is relationship. At the heart of every restorative restorative process is a damaged relationship, right? If you're feeling disrespected, if the kids are disrespecting each other, that is a damaged relationship. The next R is respect. If relationships are at the heart of restorative justice, respect is the key ingredient to make it happen. Respect keeps the process safe. If you want to, have this conversation with your students, respect has to be at the key. And I'm going to tell you more about how you could facilitate that in a moment. Responsibility is the third R. In order for restorative justice to be effective, everyone must grapple with their own personal responsibility. You have to think about your own personal responsibility. Just because you are the adult and the teacher in this setting does not mean you are free from blame. What have you done that has, added to this damaged relationship, right? We have to take accountability for our own actions. Were we not teaching math in a way that was helping our students? Were we not helping them feel welcome in this class? Were we not speaking up when students were laughing at each other when they were doing math? All of those things are our responsibility that we need to take personal responsibility for and share that with your kids. Repair. After respect and responsibility have been established, the next step towards healing is to repair the process. And that's really where you need to facilitate the discussion that includes all of these 5 R's. And then reintegration. In order to complete the process, the community allows the person who caused harm to accept responsibility and begin the reintegration process. This is really more if you're having like a one-on-one restorative justice conversation, but I think it still applies. This is the purpose of a restorative classroom reset, is to reintegrate with each other. Your students have to reintegrate with you. Your students have to reintegrate with each other. Multiple people have caused harm. Multiple people need to accept responsibility, maybe not individually, but just collectively for the whole class, and to really move forward. So as you're thinking about facilitating a discussion, I have some ideas for you that I'm going to share with you in a minute, but they need to be hitting these 5 things. So as you plan a discussion to have with your kids, come back to these 5 R's and go and check out theconflictcenter.org. You need to make a plan. When will you facilitate this discussion? How long do you expect this discussion to take? I would say you probably need to designate an entire class period when you get back to this. What materials do you need for an effective discussion? Do you need poster board? Do students need to do, kind of like a gallery walk of ideas? Again, what are some materials that you might need for an effective discussion to keep students focused? Do you need to print out some notes for them? Do you need to print out a reading for them? What is it that you're going to need to have for an effective discussion? And how will you continue to reinforce the outcomes of the discussion? You don't just want to have a discussion and then never revisit it. So you have to think about, how am I going to reinforce what comes out of this discussion, right? And it can't be like a prescriptive thing, because we don't know what our kids are going to say. We don't know what the particular wrongs are that we've all been feeling in the classroom that need to get settled. And then step 3 is to take action, right? Have the discussion, notice discomfort, and stay curious. That's one of my favorite norms that one of my bosses used to always use in our professional development. Notice discomfort and stay curious, because that's going to happen. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have with 14, 15, 16-year-olds about how they have felt disrespected in your classroom or whatever it is. Notice that discomfort and stay curious about it. Don't take it personally. You are the adult in that conversation. You need to be the adult for them during this. It doesn't mean you can't take responsibility, because we all have responsibility to take in these in our classroom community, but don't take it personally. They're not, lashing out at you personally. So if you want more, I do have a classroom culture activity bundle. So how to facilitate that respect conversation. There's 7 activities included in here. And so you can go check that out on TPT. The link will be in the description of this video. So you can check that out and get that, so that you're all set with a whole bunch of activities you can use your first week back that are going to facilitate this restorative reset. Also, I have a professional development, digital professional development program called Math Engagement Academy. If you work with students who struggle with math, this is where you want to be. So go ahead and check that out at mathengagementacademy.com, or you can click the link in the description of this video to find out all the goodness that is included in there if you want to really help make math accessible for all of your students who are struggling. So I hope this helps thinking of your classroom reset. Again, let's hang out over on Instagram. If you're interested, I'm collaborated.with.juliana, and I share lots of other great tips there. So I will see you around. Have a good one.